from a different star, flying over streets and the broken hearts. But they can't even touch us, we found a different beat. Paradise is waiting and we bought the lease. Ooh, getting caught in the mist, there's so many that never get out of. They're feeding the fears and the doubts. Ooh, but we go and we run to the end and we run without shame. We own the game, and we ride on the flames till the morning light. Baby, 'cause we're dynamite. Ain't nobody gonna hold us down. Break all the rules, let them run and hide. Baby, 'cause we're dynamite. Gonna let the world
Hey everyone, welcome back to Front Row 2020. If you don't know me, I'm Ryan Hayward. I'm your host of Front Row 2020. Front Row 2020, I'm also the CEO and founder of Pitchproof. It's currently 9 a.m. here in Australia. Last night we finished up with Tom Ross at about 1:30. So we're fairly sleep deprived, but we're staying strong. And we're super excited for what we're calling day 2 of our Front Row 2020 virtual conference. Up in a second, we have Alex Antonolino, who's the creative director at Typeform, and he's got a really amazing talk, which we'll jump into in just a second. Just a couple of housewarming things. Number one, I want to make sure you guys are sharing your photos and pictures on Instagram and Twitter and wherever using the hashtag FrontRow2020. And make sure to tag us at Pitchproof if you've been following our Instagram stories over the past 24 hours. You know, we've been going crazy just re-uploading what you guys send us. Because we want to chuck it out our highlights, and it's really cool to see you guys engaging. And also a huge thanks to our sponsors again, Adobe XD and Holobrief. Their links are in the description. And also, if you haven't already, I know it's been going off, but our Slack channel, we've got like 600 people in there. That's not near enough to the number of attendees that have actually signed up. So if you haven't joined the Slack channel, make sure you join the Slack channel. We're giving you guys straight notifications every time we go live with some exclusive other goodies. You get to connect with event attendees. It's fantastic. Also, a virtual expo. It's something new we're introducing this year. There's heaps and heaps and heaps of good stuff on there. If you're a VIP, you get access to get enter into the draw to win a potential Adobe Creative Cloud subscription for a year. So that's pretty cool. There's other goodies. You can download free ebooks. There's exclusive discounts. We've got a bundle going on with Design Cuts at the moment where you can access like 50 of their best selling products for 50% off and add them to your cart. That's a super cool product we got going. So there's heaps there. Again, everything's down in the description, guys. Or maybe in the chat. And then also, I haven't canceled the deal yet, but you've basically got an hour left. So by the end of this session, we're removing you 30% off for our VIP pass for Frontrow 2020. So if you do want to grab the VIP pass, which will allow you to rewatch sessions after they've gone live, so you might miss one because of time zones or something like that, or you might just want to really rewatch a session, you can do that with a VIP pass. You get access to the mentoring sessions. So Dave Tallis held one overnight for us, and that was really successful. The story's up on our Instagram, and you get a ton more goodies too. So I highly recommend you check it out. But yeah, if you want 30% off the VIP pass, links in the description. But yeah, let's get into the real reason why we're here today. And that's because today we are joined by the creative director at Typeform, Alex Antonolino, giving a talk on how to build a successful design career in branding. As well as being the creative director at Typeform, Alex is also starting to get into a fair bit of content creation. He's an overnight music producer. But as Typeform's creative director, he has defined the creative vision of the brand and has led the creative team in implementing it through the content and design. Please welcome Alex. Alex, how are you going?
Hello, how are you doing? Hello, everyone watching. I'm great. It's past midnight here, but like I'm great. I'm pumped.
Yeah, maybe give everyone like a quick minute
All
or so
right.
introduction, just about what your
I
talk is.
can't hear you, Ryan, but I feel like
Whoop,
maybe
can
I
you hear
should
me
give it a
now?
go.
Is that better?
Yeah, that's much better.
All right, that's awesome. Maybe you
All
want
right,
to give
cool.
everyone a quick introduction about what your talk is about today, and then we can jump straight into it.
Yeah, let's do it. So, for those of you who don't know me, I'm Alex Antolino. Thanks so much, Ryan, for having me and for the introduction. And yeah, so tonight I'm really excited because for the first time I'm gonna talk about career development. And I usually give talks and public speaking in different conferences around the world, and I get to talk about branding the most. Okay, and I'm really excited tonight because like I'm gonna get to share with you guys like all my strategies and tips and like hacks that got me here as a creative professional to become a creative director of a big tech company. So let's get right into it
Let's do it.
with the
I think you
presentation.
mentioned you haven't spoken Australia yet, have you?
Not yet,
We're gonna
not
get you
yet.
down here.
So
If you're
really
ever
looking
down in
forward for you
Melbourne,
guys
I'm
to bring
shouting
me
you for
there.
a drink.
Yeah, 100%. All right, guys. So first of all, I want to jump right with like a very straightforward question. What's the most powerful emotion that you guys think? I'm watching the chat, so if you have comments, you feel free to drop them there, and I'll try to catch them. If you ask me what's the most powerful emotion, I would go for something like this. And fear is very strong. Fear can paralyze us. Fear is massive emotion that has a lot of energy to it. And if you go to dictionary, you're gonna find something like this. So fear is an unpleasant emotion caused by the belief that someone or something is dangerous. And I highlighted that part because I think it's really important. So if you actually think about it, fear, it's the belief that will drive you into action. And I want to stay here for a second in this word belief, because it makes a difference, because it really doesn't matter if there's actually a threat or not. Just your belief is going to make you behave in a certain way. So I'm here to talk about this poster today. And it's not about UFOs. We could have a whole separate conference and conversation, especially this year, about UFOs. But I want to talk about this sentence, I want to believe, because it's been driving my career over the last years. And I want to break it down for you here. So let's focus on this word belief. So according to the dictionary, belief is accept something as true. And then want is to have a desire. And I think that's really important, this little sentence here, because if I say I believe something, I believe, that I'm good, or I believe in God, any of this, it's just like, it's something that I believe, and it's not necessarily something I might have considered necessarily. Maybe it's like an acquired belief or something like that. But if I say I want to believe, it implies a conscious act of belief. And this is really important, and it's critical because it affects behavior. And this is what I want to talk about today. How can we actually prepare our mindset to drive action? But before we jump into that, I just want to give a little bit more context of who I am and why am I here talking about those things today. So I started on filmmaking. I started directing commercials for like hotels, fashion brands, and things like that. And then I've been also into documentary. This is a picture when I was shooting a documentary at Burning Man, when we were doing this movie. Probably the first feature film ever shot at Burning Man. You can watch it on Netflix. And as Ryan said, I love producing electronic music. And I happen to be creative director at Typeform. And for the last 5 years, I've been running and building and scaling up the creative team there. For those of you who don't know Typeform, I'll explain a bit what it is. But I also do public speaking around the world. I still need to go to Australia. But yeah, and I love sharing what I know about branding most of the time. So that's why today I'm excited about sharing like career insights and things like that. So Typeform is an online form builder, and we create interactive experiences. And what's special about Typeform is that it's beautiful forms, basically. So to promote and communicate these forms, we created a very nice, beautiful brand with a strong storytelling. And we did this together with Design Studio, the creators of the Airbnb brand. And then Typeform happened to launch last year a new product called Video Ask, and I'm focusing this year on developing this brand from scratch. So it's kind of like starting over from scratch. And just for some context, I wanted to share this with you guys. This is a brand that we created for electronic music instrument for kids. And yeah, I happen to share everything I know about branding on my Instagram. So usually in a conference, in real life, you would keep your phone on the pocket. But I would encourage you to go to Instagram, check my profile, and follow me if you want to learn about branding. Now, I said at the beginning of the presentation that today we're going to talk about mindset, and we're going to talk about action. And let's start with mindset, or how to set your mind for success, or at least the things that worked for me, because I don't have the absolute truth. So I'm going to give 5 mindset ideas that you can maybe follow if you want. Number 1. So as I said, I love producing electronic music. So someone could actually say, oh, so you're a music producer. And I would be like, yeah. But I also love playing PlayStation. So someone could say, oh, you're a gamer. And I love cooking on my barbecue, especially in the lockdown. So someone could say, oh, you're a cook. And I love training every morning. So someone can say, oh, you're an athlete. And I'm all those things. Also, I studied filmmaking and cinematography. So someone could say, oh, you're a photographer, you're a filmmaker. I studied design 2 years ago. So someone could say you're a designer. I also, this is a little secret I'm sharing with you guys, I also do tarot reading. So someone could say, oh, you're a tarot reading. And as I said, I do public speaking. So someone could say, oh, you're a public speaker. And I am all those things. And I'm saying those things not to brag or anything, just because I want to share this idea that can like change the way I approach things in life. Once you do something, you become that thing. And this is my first advice, or like mindset tip for the night or for the morning or whatever you are. Once you do something, you become that thing. And it's not me saying this, it's the dictionary who says that. When you a music producer is someone who produces music. A gamer is someone who plays video games. So this might seem very obvious, but I think it's very important to understand that like the moment you do something, you become that thing. And this is a very interesting way to actually fight against imposter syndrome. We've all heard about imposter syndrome. We felt that sometimes maybe. And the best way to overcome imposter syndrome, in my opinion, is to accept that you don't need to be good to be something. So, because if you expect to be good, you're always gonna find, someone better, and you will never consider yourself a designer, a copywriter, or a photographer, whatever you are, you're pursuing. So, just because you design, you're a designer, and you will get better over time. But this is a very important thing to be aware of, in my opinion. Number two. So many of you may have mirrorless cameras, or maybe you're a filmmaker, or you do photography. So as I said, I studied film, and I was doing like short films and things like that. And one day I was doing commercials, and I did a commercial for a TV show here in Spain called Tu cara me suena. So I was they really liked my work, and so they invited me um, to work on the show as a cameraman. And I was like, well, I said to them, I don't have experience, but they said, yeah, it's fine, you're gonna do fine. So when I arrived the day of the shooting, I found these cameras. So if you're familiar with cameras, I know how to handle mirrorless cameras. I know how to handle like a Canon camera, and I know how to handle a Red One, Arri Alexa film cameras, but I've never used a camera like this. And I freaked out because it works very different. And actually, the way you shot the TV show, it's very different from the way you shot a TV commercial. So I was like, oh, I don't know what to do here. So what I did was approach the person who I thought was more experienced there, and I asked her, like, hey, I said, look, I have no idea what I'm doing. Please give me some advice, because like I don't know how to do this. And she said that, and she said something that stuck on my mind like forever. She said, we're not surgeons, no one will die tonight, so chill the fuck up. So I was like, it's very stupid, but it's true. Like at the end of the day, if you're a designer, if you're like a copywriter, if you're like a filmmaker, like we are very perfectionist and we take our job very seriously. But at the end of the day, we need to contextualize, and we need to understand that shit, it's just design, like it's not like we're like doing like surgery and someone can actually die from what I do and like the decisions I make. It's a job, and yes, we're passionate and we're perfectionists, but no one will die tonight. And when she said that, I was like, and believe it or not, that literally changed my career in the way that I approach what I do. So when I've been at Typeform since day one, I joined as a filmmaker, and I've never been scared of assuming risk, because I always was like, that's not my dream job. Like if they don't like what I do, they can fire me and it's fine. And precisely this mindset is what allowed me to, move fast very quickly, because I was assuming risk, the risk of being fired, and I did well. So I would encourage you to do what you believe, always being respectful. And for example, I believe that Typeform needed a rebrand, and I push, and we did it, and it was very successful. And I only did this because I was not afraid of being fired. So this would be my recommendation when you are working, like you've got nothing to lose, right? So if you've made it here, you can do it all over again. So I would encourage you to try things and risk it. Number three, it's about curiosity. Okay. When you start your career, and you are here at the very beginning, and you wanna move up, you wanna get to a great place. You imagine that the path will be like this, right? Like an ascending path to a better place. Very soon, and this is no surprise to all of you, you realize that the path is actually like this. But I like to look at it in a slightly different way. So I like to look at the path of development as something more close to this, and I'll explain. So the way I see it, it feels like a flat line with like many branches that you can actually like take and then go back and then move to the right and then go to the left and things like that. And then you realize that there's many doors that you can open that will take you somewhere else. And then one day, after opening like five, 10, 20, 100 doors, you find something, and then all of a sudden you move up like that. That's my experience. It doesn't mean that it has to be like that for you, but it's been like that for me, and I love it. And it's just like open possibilities. And this is actually how I found Aulard. Aulard, they're a educational platform for electronic music, and they invite like popular artists to give lectures on electronic music. And I started helping them with branding, and it all started with my genuine curiosity for electronic music, and saying, hey guys, you're in Barcelona, I'm in Barcelona, let's meet, and now I'm helping them with branding. So every single job that I got, I started like this. Even for Typeform, I never applied for a job at Typeform. It was more like, oh, what are you guys doing? And hey, we need a filmmaker. And then here I am. And then 1 year later, oh, I'm a creative director. So yeah, curiosity is a path to growth. That'll be my third tip. And yeah, it's like really like you need to be curious in life if you want to progress. Okay, number 4. So number 4, it's a little story here, and maybe you're familiar with it. So one day I get this message on Instagram. It's like, hey, did you do a video with Matthew and Zena from the future? And I was like, yep, that's me. And I was like really excited because I did this video like at the very beginning of like me posting content on Instagram. So people watching that video and reaching out was like very cool. And he was like, oh, so I said, that's me. And he said, oh, it's cool. Nice to meet you. Honestly, I didn't think it was you because you only have 800 followers. And I was like, what the fuck is supposed to mean? So I was like, I was happy, but like surprised. And I was like, what is going on here? I don't really understand. So then I see he's writing again. And he's like, how did you do it? How did you get in the future if you only have 800 followers? And I'm like, oh my God, this is hilarious. So I explained here how I did it, because honestly I don't think I didn't do shit, but basically the story on how I end up making a video with Mati on the future is that like a year ago, or like a bit more than a year ago, I discovered the future, and I thought their content was amazing, and I know how much effort it takes to actually create content and share content. It's a lot of work. So I reached out to Chris, and I said, hey, love your content. Thanks so much. Great stuff. Keep doing what you're doing. I'm just grateful. Just wanted to let you know. And Chris replied to me, and he said, hey, Alex, I visited your offices last year in Barcelona. I was like, what a coincidence, because I wasn't aware of that, which is weird because like I'm very aware of stuff that happens to the company. But I wasn't aware, and I didn't know Chris by that time, or the future. So parallel to that, as I said, I was giving conferences, and one of those conferences was 4 years from now, at the World Mobile Congress in Barcelona. And then this happened like in February or something. And then on the summer, because I started talking with Chris, I ended up visiting them and having a chat with Chris at the future, in their offices when I was like on holidays in LA this last summer. And it was great. I love meeting Chris. They're like super nice. It was like a very nice experience for me, and I was again being very grateful for like what they're doing. And then the same conference that I gave the talk invited me to give another talk in LA. So because I'm grateful, I invited them because I had a spare ticket, and I invited them to the conference. So Matthew came to see my talk. He really liked it. We went for lunch, and then he invited me to the show. Why am I sharing this story? Because some people ask me, oh, how is that you did a video at the future? And the answer is like, be fucking grateful. Like for me, it was about being grateful. Like the whole thing is like, I love what you do. Thanks. And this initiated a relationship that led into that, but it was never planned. And with this, I want to arrive to like the 4 advice, or my insights from my career of the night. And it's kindness is the best awareness strategy. It's worked always for me. It's not something that like you can plan, maybe some people plan it, but like for me it's just like, if you're nice to people, if you're grateful with other people, if you help each other, things happen, and that's it, period. So kindness is the best brand awareness strategy, and the best awareness strategy for you too. Now, number 5, the last advice of the night, in terms of mindset. When we start as professionals, we try to think that businesses are very rigid. The truth is, or at least my experience taught me, that that's not exactly true, and that there's a lot of, things happening. Some people are very afraid of change, and personally, I actually enjoy change because it allows me to thrive. You see, when something is very rigid, it's secure and it's safe because it's predictable. But the moment it's rigid, if you try to do something about it, it might break. In the other hand, change is fluid. So you can actually play with change. You can actually modify change, because change can be shaped. And the good thing about this is that not many people dare to actually navigate change. So just keep this in mind. When I joined Typeform, I applied as a videographer. We were 30 people, and I was hired to do tutorials. So just for context, as I said, I had my own studio before, and I was doing TV commercials, and now I got this job to do fucking tutorials, and I did it, and I was very open on my interview because I needed to save money to go traveling. And when they asked me this, one of the founders asked me, why do you want to join Typeform? I was like, because I need stability and I need to save money to go traveling, and if this works for you, works for me, we're all happy. So I joined as a videographer, but I joined Typeform right before it exploded, before we got Series A. So when I joined Typeform, and this would be like the growth of Typeform, I would be here. So right before the exponential growth. And with rapid growth, if you've ever worked at startup, there's change. So for me, the reason why I was able to go from videographer and like just doing tutorials to actually creative director, because I was able to identify an opportunity and a need and just go for it with no fear of the outcome. So the number 5 tip of the night is leverage change to your favor. And if you do that, you're very likely to be successful, because guess what? Not many people do, because most people are afraid of change. And at least this is based on my experience. So that would be tip number 5. So my mindset for success, as a recap, would be 1, once you do, you become. Like I said at the beginning, once you do something, just take that title. Don't necessarily claim you're the best. It's hard to claim you're the best at something, but just acknowledge that you're doing it. The second one is risk it. If you got nothing to lose, risk it. Because guess what? If you made it there and everything breaks that down, you can again build it to there. So there's nothing to lose. The third one is curiosity. So curiosity is the path to grow. So be curious, open doors. You can always take the decision where you're going to go or where you're going to stay, but don't stop looking, don't stop searching if what you want is to grow. Number 4, kindness is the best brand awareness, the best awareness strategy. Just be kind to each other. If you're nice to someone else, they will appreciate. If you're extremely nice to someone, they will talk about you. And that's awareness. Just keep that in mind, and learn to leverage change. Learn to model change to your benefit. If you do this and you believe in what you do, and you believe consciously, you'll be successful, because guess what? And this is a dope visualization by Chris Doe. This is something he shared on a presentation, and it was, what you think becomes what you say. What you say becomes what you do. What you do becomes your behavior. Your behavior over time becomes your identity. And guess what? Your identity becomes what you think. So this is something I totally steal from his presentation. And when I found this presentation, I was like stoked, because it just like put into an image everything that I believe in. So I was like, I need to, like, this is great. So this is for mindset. These 5 tips are for mindset, and we can talk about this in a second. But before that, I want to talk about action, because I don't go I don't go giving talks, inspirational talks. I actually want to provide actionable tips. So let's move into action. And actually, action is nothing else than acting on stuff. So as a creative director, I've built a team of more than 12 creative professionals, and I thought it'd be interesting for you. Maybe some of you are looking for jobs, so I thought it'd be interesting for you to actually share some insights on what do we feel and what do we think when we're actually hiring talent for our teams. And I thought that would be valuable for you. So very quickly, I'm gonna share a couple of ideas here. So the first thing is freelance versus in-house. So I know there's a lot of hype on like being a founder and being a freelance designer, building your own studio, but not many people, and maybe it's not that hard to be part of like an in-house team. And I think both things are great. I've been both. I've been a freelance and had my own studio, and I now work at an in-house team, like at a company, and both things are great. It's just like it depends on your character and what you really want to do, that you need to go for one or the other. Just don't think that one is better by definition than the other, because that's not the case. So let's break it down, both of them. So freelance, when I'm hiring a freelance for my team, I'm gonna only care about their portfolio mostly, and their experience, but mostly their portfolio. Because when I'm looking for a freelance, it's a short-term hire. It's someone that you want to work with for a short period of time or for one specific project. Otherwise, you would hire that person. So you really don't care that much about um, how that person would fit on the team. You really just care about their work, honestly. So when I look at that portfolio, first of all, I want to see their website. I don't really care about Behance unless it's a junior profile. And I know a lot of you are on Behance, and that's great. It's a good start, and it's good to get discovered. But very soon, when you're professional, you want to have your own, ownership on your work and how you present your work. So I tend to find more senior profiles with their website versus Behance. That's just perception, but it's something you need to be aware. If you only are in Behance, that you can be perceived as a junior designer. I'm not saying you are a junior designer. I'm saying this is how some recruiters might think of you. The second one is coolness. So actually, if I'm going to hire you for just one project, I want your work to be cool. And cool is very subjective, and it's just like the opinion of someone. But I need to find something on your work that makes me excited about it. Then in this order, I'm going to look for quality. So I'm going to take a look at the details and how thought out is the whole project that you're presenting. I'm going to look for a specialization so that you know what you're talking about, and then diversity on style within that specialization. So if you're a logo designer, I want to see that you've designed logos for different companies, but that you're a very good logo designer and you don't do everything. And then context and process. So I really need to understand what's your process before hiring you, because process, in my opinion at least, is the most important thing, even more than output. And even for freelance designers or working with agencies, that's very important. So just keep those things in mind. Maybe it's useful for you when you're looking for a job or working with clients, something like that. When it comes to in-house and being in an in-house team, the first thing actually that I'm going to look at, it's not your portfolio, it's actually your LinkedIn profile. Because when I'm hiring for my team, I'm actually trying to find someone that will stay in my team for a long time. I don't want to hire you and then you go out and then you quit for like 6 months because you don't like the team or you don't fit or whatever, right? So in my opinion, what's important, it's going to be, I'm going to start with your LinkedIn profile to understand your story and who you are. So I'm going to look for experience and make sure that the experience matches the role that you're applying for. I'm also going to look for the evolution of your career. So how have you progressed in each company and between companies, to understand a little bit of your story. I'm going to look for achievements. So did you rebrand a company, or did you deliver X project that delivered those results, whatever? And I'm going to ask you this on the interview. And I'm going to check your education just to get a sense, not to give you a stamp of approval or anything like that, just to understand yeah, your background, your story. Now, the second thing out of three that I want to talk about is interview. So, and I'm going to be very quick with this. So, this is something I realized that most junior designers fall in this trap, and I think it's sad because like there's a super talented junior designers, but some of them they miss they lack the experience to be able to sell themselves very well. So so this is what a job seeker might think. I need to show how good I am on my interview, right? So we've all been there, nervous the night before of an interview, saying, I need to show how good I am, you know. And to these people, what I say is like, it's not just this, you know, it's not just showing how good you are, because there's more to what you do. And at an interview, your goal is not to show how good you are, but to build trust with the person who is doing the interview. What does that mean? How do we build trust? Well, um, so it's your capacity. So how good are you at what you do? But it's also your coherency, your story, what I was talking about, LinkedIn, these things, and the stories you're going to tell on the interview that prove what you do and how good you are. And then there's care, benevolence. So if you really care about my project or my company or what I'm doing, and this shows up, if you've actually done some research or you're interested or know what do we do here, the company you're applying for. So if you're interested on this, you can watch the video I did with Matthew that I would talk before, when I talk about those things related to branding. But I think in general, that's how you build trust as a human being. So most people, when they do interviews and they're getting started out of uni or whatever, they're very focused on capacity and showing how good they are. They're building up their confidence, and that's okay. But think that if you're going to an interview and only talk about your work, capacity is just 30%. If you are missing or neglecting the other parts, you're missing up on the 60%, which is coherency and interest. So keep this in mind. Not only show your portfolio, but actually show interest for the company and actually tell your story, tell your achievements, why you did those decisions. Actually, aside from, we're looking for designers. So if you are looking for a job, you want to move to Barcelona, scan this QR code because you might find a job. And when you do the interview, keep those things in mind. That would be my recommendation. Now, the last thing that I want to talk about now is leveling up. So you got the job, you've been working here for some time, and now you want to get a promotion. Apply the same logic. I've done many reviews with employees, and they always concern about how good that project turned out or the results. And yes, most people, when they want to progress in their career, they're like, oh, I need to do a better job, which easily can turn into, I need to do my job better. But the truth is, again, there's much more to that. And to prove this, I want to show you a visualization that we used for a couple of years at Typeform to understand the career path. So this is all the things that we consider when we're promoting someone. This is old. It's not something we use right now, but we've been using this for like a good 1 or 2 years. And if you only talk about your work, you're just focusing on this part. And you're not talking about the scope, your impact, your communication, your relationship, your independence, and all those things. So just keep this in mind. Woo! So that was a lot. I wanted to share those things. We talked about mindset. Shared with you my little secret about this favorite poster of mine, and we talked about work and how to actually show up and not just show your work. So the last thing that I want you to remember is like, work is not just about what you do. Work is also about how you do it and who you are. And this is more important than most people think. But if you actually want to build a successful design career, you need to understand that. And I really recommend you apply some of these ideas. At least they worked for me. And that's why I wanted to share those things with you. And that's all, folks, for now. So I think, yes, I think we can move on now to a little chat. And maybe you want to ask questions, you want to have a conversation here.
I love it. That was a super awesome talk, very in depth. I'm just gonna do something real quick. That is flat, so we'll have to get some questions up another way. Unfortunately, our iPad has died last second, but we will get some questions here in just a second. But first off, tell everyone, Alex, where people can follow you, because I know you've only been, I mean, you've started to have some growth recently, and hopefully this helps with that. But your content's really amazing, and I feel that more people should be following you. So
Thank you.
where should they find you?
Yeah. So you can find me on Instagram at Anotolino. It's not properly spelled on the title. So if you look for Anotolino, you're not gonna find me. So it's Anotolino with like it's spelled on when I say hi on the chat. And actually, you can follow me on YouTube. I don't have content there, but I'm actually gonna start very soon. So if you want to follow me, you're gonna be the first ones to check it
I'm
out.
sure people will see your little face in the chats and they can click on your profile. I believe we're going to get a few questions up here. Just give us 1 second. Awesome. Here we go. A few questions coming in. Oh, lovely. Heaps. All right. Which one are we going to start with? Oh, wow. All right, let's start with this one. What is something you've learned in the last 12 months that's been more impactful than your master's degree? Oh, have we lost him?
Oh, sorry.
Why are you still here?
Sorry. Oh my God, I'm such a newbie with all the technology. There you go. I'm back.
There we go.
Sorry.
Did you catch that question?
My
I'll repeat
camera's
it.
heating up or something. Okay, go ahead.
All right. What is something you've learned in the past 12 months that's been more impactful than your master's degree?
More than my master's degree? I think it's been more like, relationships, like the fact. So I've been running Typeform's brand and creating content for Typeform's brand. And I had no fucking clue about social media, and I can admit that. But I was never interested in social media, for example. And I had a Facebook. I deleted the account because I was not interested in sharing my personal life there. And I was not even on Instagram. So actually, the last 6 months creating content on Instagram taught me a lot. And made me realize that if you're actually putting out content and using channels to share that content, and you're creating content for a company, not necessarily yourself, it's super critical that you understand the channels you're working with. And actually, putting my own content and experimenting on Instagram like I'm doing has helped me actually deliver better creative. So that would be a big insight for me for the last 6 months.
Awesome. As someone who hires someone, like, how important do you think as a junior designer or someone like that to actually create content and have that social media presence? Like, is that something you look at? If they've got a strong social media presence, is that going to, maybe give them an advantage in a job interview?
I don't think it would give, personally for me, that's very personal. When I'm hiring, I don't really care about those things. I think it's good you're in social media, but it's not going to give you an advantage over someone else that has a profile. Like, and I mean, it makes sense for me. Like, I've never been on social, so it would be stupid if I would like prefer someone that has more followers. And those things, like the fact that you know how to play the algorithm well doesn't mean you're like a good designer. It means a lot of things, but a lot of social media, I've realized, it has to do with like understanding the algorithm and playing the rules of that game specifically. So in my opinion, it's a bonus, of course, but it's definitely not going to give you, in my opinion, for me at least, more advantage. What it's going to tell me is that the channel. So if we're a company that we're putting a lot of effort on social media, and you, like, let's say YouTube, and you have a strong YouTube channel, this could give you advantage, but just because you're more aware of the format we're working on. But that's it, not the whole hype of having followers. Like, I don't really care about this.
For sure. All right. How can you make a brand from scratch? What steps do you go through? In this case, video ask.
Yeah. So I'm sharing all my process on how I'm creating video ask on my Instagram account. So if you're following me, you're gonna find some stuff in there. The process is like very simple. So first of all, you need to understand every single thing about that company. So understanding the users, the employees, the founders, understand everything, understand the product 100%. Then the next would be to do a little strategy. Sorry about that.
And he's gone.
Yeah. So
Well, welcome back to the Ryan Show. I'm
so
sure
the
Alex
second
will
is want to
join
be
us
is going to be
later.
understand the creative strategy, then make some proposals for like the visual identity, and then finally go for like something. So it's from like thinking, so from listening, thinking, proposing, and deciding, and implementing. So that would be it.
That's awesome. All right, we've got a couple more questions here before we finish up. How can one come up with a design process? Any recommendations from your experience?
Sorry about my technical issues. Like, I'm super new with like streaming devices. I'm trying to do my best here, but like it's super hot in
You got
this
some good
room.
lighting in the background though. I'm impressed.
I'm like decorating and everything. All right. So you talked about the design process. What was the
Mm.
question again? Sorry.
Oh, I've just lost it. How does one come up with a design process?
I think it's very personal to each creator, but like for me at least, it's like opening possibilities, learning as much as possible, and when you find some you feel strong about a couple,
Yeah.
try to narrow it down and go for something. The thing that you're gonna go for, it's not never gonna be the best option. It's just at some point you just need to go for one and go all in with that one, and understand that it can change. Something that I've learned actually about building brands is that we used to think that brands are some, like when you create an identity, it's something final, and that's just the beginning. And something I learned creating the Typeform brand is that when you create a visual identity, that's just a virtual brand, and it's not until you start implementing that this becomes something. And you can change it over time. We're so scared of like, oh, never change the logo, or don't ever change the typography or things like that. But at the end of the day, if it's not working, you're gonna end up changing. And the truth is that things change so much these days that brands need to evolve and need to progress. So that's also a good way to remove pressure when you're building a brand, in my
For
opinion.
sure. I've got one more question here. When looking for a specific freelance or in-house designer to hire, is it more beneficial to look for someone who is skillful in multiple things or someone who is a rock star in one specific thing?
That's a really good question. And honestly, it really depends on, in my opinion, the level. So when you're a junior, I'm going to look for you. If you know to do a lot of stuff, that's going to be more interesting, versus if you're like a high profile, like senior or principal, I want you to understand all those things, but to do something really well. And that's why I'm hiring you. So when you're building a team, the way I see it is like a mechanism. You're trying to find the right pieces for the engine to work in the best way possible. So you're trying to find what pieces work with each other. But at the end of the day, you want this mechanism to be flexible and fluid. I like fluid teams. So actually, one of the best hires I've done is a designer who actually also is a photographer, and he's developed an amazing photography library for Typeform. He's developing all the pictures for Typeform, and that was a discovery after we hired him, that he was a great photographer too. So I'm personally like, I'm not like a designer. I'm not the best designer. I'm not the best filmmaker. I'm not the best photographer, but I know how to do all those things. So it'd be silly if I said that I look for like the rock star. But it's true that when you're junior, it's good that you know how to do all those things, so you can actually like find your sweet spot. And when I'm hiring for like a senior principal, I'm gonna try to get the excellence.
That's awesome. All right, I think your camera is cut out again. Well, we will finish up there. Alex, thank you so much for joining us today. If you want to check out Alex, make sure you follow him on Instagram at Anotolino. There'll probably be links in chat or somewhere, and I'll make sure to plug it on our social media too. There's a lot of value on his account. But yeah, thank you so much for joining us, Alex. I'm going to do a quick
Perfect.
outro.
Thanks so much for having me. Thanks, Ryan. Thanks the whole team. And thank everyone watching there. Thanks for your comments. I'm really looking forward to take a look at them. Bye-bye. My camera is saying I need to go to sleep.
Your camera's saying goodbye too.
All right.
All right, so thank you guys so much for joining this session with Alex. If you want to watch the replay of this, just have the VIP pass. So you have to purchase the VIP pass. It's going down. Our 30% sales going down in like 30 minutes time. So you better be quick. The replay is going up probably in about 10 minutes time. as well as yesterday's few sessions too, which are about to be uploaded too. So that's it from me. So up next, I think basically from now for the next few hours, guys, if we get a schedule up on. So we have a networking session for the next 3 hours. So if you're available over the next 3 hours, jump in our networking sessions. So if you just go to the frontrow.design/watch page, there's a link on the top header that says network. Click on that, and there's 8 different networking rooms. Click into one of those. It's basically a Zoom call, but it's not Zoom. It's a cool tool called Whereby, which is like a browser-based video conferencing tool. Meet some really cool creatives, just like you, other event attendees. I'm going to be jumping in there, maybe of a couple of people, so I really hope I can speak to you guys. So jump into there now if you want to. Just head to frontrow.design/networking. I'll put it in our Slack community and everything like that. And then afterwards at 3 p.m. in Australia or 5 a.m. at GMT, we have the Aussie panel. So we've got people like Regan, aka G'day Frank, Michael Wong, Jacob Cass, and a couple other names. We're going to be talking about personal branding as a designer. And then later on, we have Steph from Let's Talk Branding giving a very in-depth workshop about diving deep into brand strategy. I know I put out on our socials a couple of days ago for you guys to fill out a form to help him out in this presentation. So I've seen a glimpse of the presentation. There's a lot of value in it. So if you're keen to learn a bit more about brand strategy, definitely check it out. A couple other things before we finish up. First off, huge thanks to our sponsors, Adobe XD and Holobrief. Couldn't do this show without them, guys. So make sure you check them out. Click the links in the description. Helps us out too. And yeah, like I mentioned, if you haven't joined the Slack channel, make sure to do that. Our virtual expo's in the description. Check that. Like I said, you got basically 30 minutes to get 30% off your VIP pass. So if you want a VIP pass for Frontrow 2020, do it now. This is your last chance. And of course, if you have been taking photos or videos, make sure to share them with everyone. Use hashtag Frontrow2020 on social media, and make sure to tag us at PitchBrief, and we'll try to chuck it back up on our Instagram stories. And then last but not least, I have to thank my amazing team, Tom Bouquet, Matt Hayward, Ben Martin, Billy Wilson, Courtney Zudema, Lawrence Digital for the animations, and Drop Music Branding for our amazing audio branding. That's it from me, guys. I'll see you guys in the networking sessions. I hope you guys have a fantastic day, night, whatever time it is, and we'll speak very soon.